Welcome to Getting Sports with Drunk. I'm your hostess, Cupcake the Riddler, and I'm joined by
Mike,
Kendall.
Solzy.
Still the only guy with a nickname. I love it.
It works. It works.
Yes. So before we get into the show topic today, well, as always, we'll go around the horn on what we're drinking. So I have the Weyerbacher Finally Legal.
In a very cool glass.
I like that glass a lot.
If you can't see it, which you can't, it's a can-shaped Guinness glass.
It's like blacked out. I like it. I have the Trillium Congress Street.
I'm drinking. This is always a topic of debate. So this is two breweries, a collaboration. This is High Life, my favorite
Yuck.
beer, and Off Color from Chicago. They brewed a champagne-style beer called Eek, and it's in a High Life style, the Transcontinental Railroad on it. Very exciting.
I'm drinking the juice.
The juice.
All right, gentlemen, take them and sink them.
Now throw it.
What you say?
I'm glad that happened.
God, I say that every time.
No, I forgot that my beer is 14%, which on top of if you remember from the last time, lost the Kyle Souls mock draft challenge. I put all my chips in his, and what a mistake. So,
some business to take care of before we get to it.
I have to do a disgusting shot as prepared by Kendall. So, Kendall, would you like to describe what's in the shot glass?
Yes.
Do you want to know what it is before taking it or after?
There's only two ingredients.
All right, so I think I know what it is.
Why don't you
I
guess?
smelt it. I think it's Crown Honey and Peach Tree.
You are correct.
Yeah. Okay, so this is going to be agonizingly sweet.
Well, it doesn't help that you had to open the bottle of Crown Honey.
It was frozen. I'd like to name the shot
Go ahead.
Honey Buns.
Honey buns. All right. Well, here's to Kyle.
My reasoning
Really
real quick
feeling
is
it.
for the peach emoji. Is for butts.
Not my fault.
Wow. A lot of peach.
What's your Zagat rating?
Bad. Way too sweet. My goodness. All right. Well, now that I'm dead, oh man, hold on. I gotta take a sip of this to get this out of my
Gotta
mouth.
wash that down. I wouldn't want to drink that myself.
Oh my God.
That was rough. For only two ingredients, you did a good job.
I thank you.
So today's show, pretty simple. As always, debate.
Embrace it.
These guys are good at arguing, and we're going to put them to the test. Traditionally, I'm usually one of the arguers, but we're going to have Kendall do some arguing today.
Not impressive.
Oh, man. So, basically, the way the show's going to work, today we're going to focus on NFL. We'll do this more often. We'll come up with a name for this segment and go around different sports, but I've given the three of these gentlemen different skilled offensive positions. We have left quarterback out of the discussion because I feel it's a little straightforward in the answers.
Tired discussion.
We will also never agree
That's true.
ever on that.
But, so, Kyle is responsible for the top 5 current tight ends in the NFL. Kendall with running backs, and Mike with the wide receivers. Now, I'd like to state before we get into this, as I've told these gentlemen, this is not based off of, like, the NFL 100. This is not based off last year's stats. We're talking overall. Like, I don't, like, Rob Gronkowski does not make the cut, for example, to me in tight ends because he didn't really play last year. Like, that type of thing. Like, this is not based off last year. This is based off careers, off of career stats, winning, importance of player, overall. So, each person is going to have about a minute, take your time, but to say your list, and then I will start the clock, and you guys as a whole will have 5 minutes to debate. Good points made from anybody will earn them a point. Not so valid arguments, a demerit. The winner at the end of it gets to assign somebody at this table a disgusting shot for the next podcast.
I like it. I'm going to blow this on purpose.
So, with that being said, Mr. Kyle Souls, would you like to lead us off?
I would. My top 5 tight end. Number 1 being Travis Kelce. Number 2 being Rob Gronkowski. Number 3 being Jimmy Graham. Number 4 being Tyler Eifert. Number 5 being Old Man Rivers, Antonio Gates.
Okay, now, as I said, we're going to start the clock soon. You guys will have points to argue. Kyle has, as the rest of you have for your respective positions, a list of counter arguments. So, Kyle will obviously be allowed to argue his earning him points or demerits. I can already see some arguments getting ready, brewing in people's heads. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start the clock now.
Go ahead.
Okay. If we are in fact doing off of careers, how could you not put Antonio Gates higher? Now, Rob Gronkowski, though ridiculous player, has ridiculous stats. Always injured, and I will forever stand by, much like Jimmy Graham, the two of them are only good because they are that big. I think Antonio Gates should be higher. Gronkowski should still be in the list, maybe as your 4 or 5, because, well, look at last year, injured, 2 years prior, injured. The guy spends more time on a cast than on the field.
Well, Rob Gronkowski, since he's been in the league, has 68 touchdowns, which is second most among active tight ends in a short period of time. And Antonio Gates, his production has decreased over the years. He's also hasn't been injured. He's also been suspended last year for 4 games.
Point.
I
agree with most of Kyle's list, so this one's tough. Kelsey, I think, is the best tight end in the NFL right now. He's unbelievable. Gates should be higher. I think Gates, even now, is better than Eifert. I don't think he should be in a 5 spot. He should be up because he's a Hall of Fame tight end, undoubtedly. Another name to consider, Dwayne Allen. Another great career, but
Point.
Hearsay. Other than that, I mean, I agree with the list.
Well, Tyler Eifert's in front of Antonio Gates for his importance of the team.
Point.
Andy Dalton couldn't throw a touchdown last year without Tyler Eifert because he had, I think, 18 the year before.
Preach.
And most of his touchdowns were to Tyler Eifert in the red zone. So his importance to the Bengals is more important to Antonio Gates now. That's why he jumped the list now.
I feel as though, this is what people care about. All the tight ends you selected are predominantly offensive and not known for their blocking.
Point.
I'd also got to add, there's a big-time name that's not on that list. Jason Witten.
Point.
Jason Witten should be a top 5 tight end.
I think he's still effective.
Every year, he is their main security blanket. He's a great blocker. He is a top 5 tight end.
Just I don't think Jason Witten fits today's tight end, and he slips because of that. And he just doesn't put up the numbers that Kelsey does. He doesn't put up the numbers that Gronkowski does. He's more of a blocking tight end. And he only gets about 60 yards a game now. And he doesn't play every snap.
But those are critical yards. Those are 3rd and 5.
Point.
Those are 3rd down conversion yards.
When all these guys play, all of them play the entire game.
Point.
I mean,
That's true.
there's one player that I left off, and it is Greg Olsen. But I just feel like Greg Olsen is more of a receiver than a tight end. Because Cam Newton...
Well, it's the same with Kelsey and Gronkowski.
Demerit.
Kelsey and Gronkowski are the same. They're more receivers than blockers.
Gronkowski blocks a lot for the New England Patriots. That's why the run game was effective when he's in and when he's not in.
It was effective without him this
All
past
last
year.
season.
Not really.
Love had 18 touchdowns.
Yeah, 18 touchdowns in the red zone.
But still,
Those yards count.
Points for everybody.
Blunt doesn't get yardage. When Gronkowski's in the game, their yardage for running backs goes up.
I agree that Blunt is a terrible running back, which he is.
he's a future Giant, so watch out.
And also, Kelsey's blocking in the run game way better than people give him credit for.
But they don't do it often. That's what made Witten so good. I mean, you look at the running backs that have come out of Dallas.
The offensive line is what made the Cowboys effective.
The last 2 seasons, maybe. Witten is a top 5.
Darren McFadden was a 1,000-yard runner 2 years ago because of the offensive line, not because of Jason
I
Witten.
said the last 2 years.
Yeah, but you're making the statement that Jason Witten is a main purpose for that, which he's not. Jason Witten has decreased value nowadays.
Are you saying that in fantasy terms or?
No, in general terms.
Okay.
Point for Kendall.
Who was your number 3 today? I can't remember.
Jimmy Graham.
Jimmy Graham.
Yeah, we didn't touch on him, really.
I would have Witten in there above Graham.
No, because Jimmy Graham's still the best gifted tight end out of all 5.
Point.
Just because Russell Wilson is his quarterback, he looks to run for can't
No, I mean,
you can't knock Jimmy Graham for not doing what he did in New Orleans because he has a running quarterback now.
Fair enough.
Out of time.
All right, and time is up. That was good. I like that. Oh yeah, punches are gonna get thrown to me. I'm so excited. All right, so
I didn't expect Kendall to come out so hard. It was like right out of the gate.
the fun part is you guys are all at 4 points, and I'd like the two of you, Kendall and Mock, to thank this man, Kyle Souls, because he saved you. The minute he read the list, I thought to myself, okay, this is going to be a hot button issue. And once we got 2.5 minutes in, none of you had said anything about Greg Olsen not being on the list. If he had not gotten brought up, you all would have been demeritored a point for not at least
I
arguing.
totally missed Greg Olsen. I was just so caught up on Gronkowski today.
The points I'd like to make, you guys all made a lot of good arguments. I do think you overlooked a little bit what the tight end position traditionally does. I'm not saying he belongs in the top 5, but when you think of what a tight end is supposed to do, a big name is Martellus Bennett. Martellus Bennett is the run blocking tight end that this NFL has used to be a part of.
Just the game today, it's changed so much.
Right, I agree, and he had a great year because he was with a great quarterback, and he's going to continue to have great years in Green Bay. I think if he plays the way he should, he's set to be in top 5. Now, I like the argument you guys made about Jason Witten. Good, both negative and positive points. So, good discussion. I like this. This is good.
You also left out Aaron Hernandez, just to say.
He's dead.
Yeah.
We'll just leave that point hanging.
Now, here's an idea. If the podcast doesn't work out for us, I say we go into the movie business. The Wayans brothers made a basketball movie called The Sixth Man back in the 90s. I think we make a football movie called The 12th Man, and it's about Aaron Hernandez helping out the Patriots from hell. All right, so we're done with tight ends. Like I said, good heated discussion. I like it. Keep it friendly. All the blows above the belt. Still waiting for the big haymaker. Feel like it might come from Kendall because he gets very defensive. So
Came out of the gate real hard.
we're gonna go.
You just hate Gronkowski because he's a Patriot.
It's irrelevant. It's
No,
irrelevant.
no,
I hate more players because they're Patriots more than the fact that I hate Gronkowski as a Patriot.
All right, so Kendall,
Running backs.
running backs.
Okay.
Give us your list.
So I'd like to just preface real quick that I just went off of the past 4 to 5 seasons. I mean, Frank Gore, great running back. I kept him off my list, though I looked at his numbers, 1,000
Save it
yard
for the
rusher.
debate.
Okay.
Save it for the debate.
And so here's my list, for better or worse. Number 1, Le'Veon Bell. Number 2, LaShawn McCoy. Number 3, DeMarco Murray. Number 4, Jamal Charles. And number 5, Adrian Peterson.
Okay, and the debate starts now.
Well, DeMarco Murray doesn't belong on the list because he's a prodigy of the system. He didn't fit with Philadelphia. He only fits well in a heavy run scheme like Tennessee and Dallas because they have good offensive line.
Point.
I believe David Johnson belongs on that list, even though he's been in the league for 2 or 3 years. But he's still
2 years.
all around better running back than DeMarco Murray. He can catch the ball better. He's what this game has turned into today, and he's, I believe, the best running back in the game. Never hurt, never in trouble, always puts up numbers.
See, for me, it's tough because, if you look at just the last couple years, it's hard to keep Peterson on the list. Because, last season, he only played a few snaps and got hurt. I think David Johnson should be on there, probably in the top 3, but he doesn't have the resume the rest of the backs in there have. Same with someone like Ezekiel Elliott. Great rookie year, but who knows? Point. LaShawn McCoy is a very good running back. He does a lot of the pass game too, so he's that new dual threat running back that the NFL loves. Jamal Charles, again, he's one of my favorite players. He's tough to put on the list because he's been hurt a lot. But when he's there, super effective.
The thing with Adrian Peterson, though, is, which I agree with Kendall, is that even though he got hurt last year, the last time he got hurt, he had his career year, the year after.
Oh, yeah.
And plus with New Orleans,
He could come back strong again. There's no doubting it. I mean,
he's a freak of nature.
blows out a knee, 2,000 yards. Beats his kid, rushing title. It's that time in the pattern.
I just want to make a note for Adrian Peterson. In 2014, in one game, the one game he played at whatever age he was in 2014, it was still a 75-yard day in that one game.
There's no doubt. He is, one of our, especially our generation, one of the all-time greats. First ballot Hall of Fame running backs.
And plus, who knows what a better offensive line than Minnesota has, what Peterson can do in New Orleans.
Yeah, their line, their team was terrible. But it will be interesting to see. Like you said, it's tough to not put a Frank Gore on there, but he was never like a top end running back. He was always middle of the road, consistent. But
all right, now I acknowledge your DeMarco Murray running back of the system. However, when making this list, I put a lot of emphasis on players playing most of the season. Now I get Peterson was hurt twice out of the past 3 years, but DeMarco Murray in his entire career has not missed more than 2012 is a standout, but he missed 6 games in. But traditionally, DeMarco Murray is always on the field. And every year, with the exception of 2015, he's put up over 600 yards. And in the receiving game, not giving him the credit where it's due, he has over 300 yards receiving, and every time he plays, that was worded horribly.
Point.
But like I said, though, that's because of the offensive line that he had. Dallas's offensive line is probably one of the greatest of all time. Anybody can run behind him, just like Darren McFadden came. Resurrected his career with the Cowboys.
Well, kind of. For me, too, I don't know if this person qualifies to be on the list, but Marshawn Lynch.
I was considering Marshawn Lynch, but I focused very heavily on the past 5 seasons.
All right. Well, he was only gone for 1 year.
Right. And unfortunately, I was afraid of putting him on the list because, he's retired. I thought that was going to be the argument.
Well, he's back now.
I know. That's the reason I kept him off the list. Charles, we talk about it. His numbers speak for himself in every facet of the game, special teams, receiving, rushing. So he deserves to be on the list, though he's been injured. Talent-wise, he's a top 5 running back.
Absolutely.
Obviously, we did talk about Le'Veon Bell.
It's self-explanatory.
See, for me, I'm not going to try and debate Bell not being number 1. But if you were to slot either Bell or David Johnson in that number 1 spot, no one can really argue one versus the other. Because to me, they're both almost the same back. So, I mean, at least if it was my team, either one I'm happy with.
If we do this debate again next year, I think you'll have David Johnson on my list. But for the same reason, I didn't put Elliott on the list. For 2 years, how many players have we seen? They had 2 great years, and then
absolutely. Alfred Morris.
So.
Point.
Yeah, but Alfred Morris was more of a Redskin.
He was a power.
Type
Yeah, absolutely. But that's the thing, running back looked great. Following year,
your argument is he's more of a Redskin?
They suck.
All right. Really mad. That wasn't very heated. Didn't like
Paul,
that.
your notes?
You guys suck. Nope, we have Kendall and Mock both with 7 points. Kyle, you got 5. You got some catching up to do. That's 6 with 1 demerit.
Well, unfortunately, I feel like we had the running backs kind of a more agreeable list.
Well, the problem wasn't Kyle benefited early. He brought up the points about the DeMarco Murray and the David Johnson, but that kind of David Johnson seemed to have been the topic for the majority of your debate. So I was not going to keep awarding points for the same points being brought back up. I like the debate. I mean, it's tough. I'm not going to agree or disagree with anybody. I completely understand the standpoint of David Johnson's impact and talent, but also with Kendall, it's been 2 years. I mean, one could argue that Le'Veon Bell does not deserve the top spot because he can't stay clean.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, there's things. I mean, I understand statistics and talent are a huge thing, but reliability and importance. I mean, when you're that important to a team and you make stupid mistakes, that drops your stock. I'm not saying Bell's not number 1. I think he is, but it was a good one. I think now with Kendall's approach at it, it was appropriate. Had he taken a more full career standpoint, I think a notable name left out Matt Forte.
I knew you were going Forte.
It's biased, but it is biased. But in my opinion, Matt Forte is the greatest rushing and receiving back that this game has. He's older now, so it's not as effective. But he's also playing with the Jets. Keep that in mind.
Yes.
If Matt Forte was playing,
killer.
if Matt Forte was playing in San Diego, he'd probably be posting 18 to 2,200 all-purpose yards a season,
Yeah.
even
I
at
didn't
this
say
age.
Danny Woodhead.
He's
So-
not on the list.
But the real reason that I think that Matt Forte is not a crime for not being on the list, but a crime for not being discussed, is I think he is the most premier pass blocking running back in the NFL. A stat very overlooked. He's leveled out some pretty big guys. He once blocked J.J. Watt 3 times in a game.
Yeah, I did that too, though.
No, you didn't.
That was Madden.
It doesn't count. Talk about David DeCastro and Madden. We'll see what
No. Don't like him.
But with that being said, I feel as there will be some points to be given in this next round. Wide receiver is always a very hot button issue. There's a lot of them at the end of the day. I think, for my predictions, I think the maybe 1, 2, 3 spot might be okay, but I think there's going to be a lot of argument about players that could have squeaked in at 5 that didn't. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. So, without further ado, Mr. Mike Mock, your list of the top 5 greatest wide receivers.
I'm doing mine a little different. I'm going 5 to 1.
Okay, so
So at number 5, I have A.J. Green. 4 is Mike Evans. 3 is Antonio Brown. 2 is Odell Beckham Jr. And 1 is Julio Jones.
okay, all right, and the debate can start now.
You're wrong about Odell Beckham.
All right,
Odell Beckham hurts your team more than anything else.
Here's really my biggest thing for it. Odell, yes, on the field issues hold him back, but he plays in a tough defensive division. At least last year, the Cowboys' defense was pretty good, Eagles' defense was pretty good, and Josh Norman's on the Redskins. He played well against those teams, and he does more with less with the Giants. Antonio Brown, again, top-tier receiver, but he is peppered targets more than any other receiver in the NFL. And Odell gets more yards. I mean, granted, last season their targets or receptions were almost the same, and Odell had almost 100 more yards.
Is it because Brown gets open more than Odell?
No, it's not. Brown, to me, Brown gets all his yards after the catch. He catches deep.
I think
What is
Beckham catches at the
All he
back.
does is a slant route.
Hey, it works.
all right, time out. I'm not supposedly going to do this, but just there are 3 other names on this list. We have 2 Steelers fans and a Giants fan at this table. This will not become a debate about whose wide receiver is better.
It's
Please
really-
continue the list.
It's really, I mean, you could put either one of them in those spots. I put Odell second because, like I said, he does more with less. Again, if you put Brown second, I can't tell you you're wrong. They're both top-end receivers.
I would like to omit Mike Evans and insert DeAndre Hopkins.
Point.
DeAndre Hopkins, the creator of the Beckham catch before the Beckham catch, midfield, might I add. Quarterback, not really there in Houston. Other receivers, not really there in Houston. I think Hopkins is more impactful in a division that, I mean, that right now in the NFC South, it's anybody's from year to year. In Houston, it's kind of Houston or Indianapolis. So I think it's more competitive in that regard, and I think he is the most impactful receiver in that division.
It's funny, I actually went to 10, but I have DeAndre at number 6. I put Mike Evans because he is like a matchup freak. He's big, he's physical, and now he has the quarterback situation that will make him a better receiver. Hopkins doesn't have that right now. Also, Mike Evans, like you said, plays in a kind of a weak division, especially secondary-wise. So he's just able to expose these teams 6 times a year, rack up these numbers, and just look like a top-tier receiver.
Point.
He's a top tier receiver.
Absolutely.
He makes ridiculous catches after ridiculous catch. He's just one of the best, I believe, top 3 receivers.
He is very good. And, I mean, it was funny because, like, his rookie season, he was a standout receiver. His second year, which was that Winston's first season, looked shaky. Yards stayed the same, but touchdowns way down. This year, Winston looks better. Evans is back as a top 5 receiver.
To bring up point about the defenses. The Steelers play in a conference where they all hate each other, so everyone tries to kill each other. Odell doesn't have to deal with that besides him trying to kill Josh Norman.
That's a good point.
Antonio Brown's always being double teamed, and he still gets 10 receptions a game.
Well, so does Beckham.
No, he doesn't.
Can't just say no.
Brown doesn't have any other help, so Brown has to do everything on his own.
Brown has the best running back in the game on his team.
Okay, but he's not receiving.
Le'Veon Bell doesn't.
You know what I'm saying? He doesn't line up. So when it's him and Eli Rogers and Sammy Coates, no one cares about the other two.
But that's the thing. If you have that top shelf running back, that opens up your passing game. If Le'Veon Bell was on the Giants, Beckham would be better. It's how it is. They both benefit from that. Like I said, you could put Brown second. There's no argument against it.
AJ Green would be high if he had a better quarterback.
Absolutely. The big
He
reason
don't
I have
suck.
AJ Green in the fifth spot is he makes a bad team relevant. Similar to Eifert. If those two guys are not on the Bengals, they're a 2-win team. When
And Julio Jones is the best receiver in the game.
Yeah, there's no arguing that.
Spent this entire time trying to think of a counter argument.
When I was putting this list together, I tried so hard not to put him number one, but you just can't.
Odell also drops a lot of passes. Especially last year in the big game.
He did last year. I can't argue that. I don't think he drops a lot of passes, but it happens. I mean, balls get dropped. I don't know. I can't really debate it, but that's my list.
All right, and time. All right. So I'm glad I intervened because that would have went on for 5 minutes and everyone would have been demerited their whole point total. I knew I had to cut it off when Kendall got involved because Kendall's usually the one that sits out in those the arguments between these two. So I'm going to leave this list be. I'm going to give out last minute points. That's what I'm going to do. Points and demerits, I should say. So, on a personal note, on my own opinion base, and this may be disagreed with, but you're pretty much ahead anyway, so relax. I'm demeriting Mike Mock 1 point because I believe DeAndre Hopkins and T.Y. Hilton are light years better than A.J. Green. I don't think A.J. Green should even be on the list.
I had Hilton at number 8.
But just imagine if A.J. Green had Andrew Luck.
But just imagine doesn't mean anything to me. Look what Alshon Jeffrey did with Jay Cutler.
You're absolutely right.
The quarterback does not make the receiver. That's not how. He does, but that's just it. You're not a great receiver because you have a great quarterback. Would Julian Edelman, and I know he's on your bottom 5 there, would Julian Edelman be a relevant name had he been playing this entire time still in Miami?
No.
Or not still in Miami, I was thinking Wes Welker. But still, had he been playing in Miami, would he be a relevant name? No. Therefore, I do not think he's a great receiver. A.J. Green, yes, he is a very talented guy, top 10 in my opinion. Totally agree with that. But A.J. Green is not the kind of guy that goes out and takes over a game. And I understand that he doesn't have an elite quarterback with him, but he puts up what I deem to be in a pass-heavy NFL these days, regular numbers, maybe a little above average, when he's a very heavily targeted receiver.
Also, because they don't have anybody else. Or a running game.
That's true. Like I said, other than he's hurt a lot, I have him in there because of what he does for that team.
I think the only reason A.J. Green is good is because of Tyler Eifert. If you took Tyler Eifert out of that lineup and put in an average tight end, and A.J. Green was forced to do what like Antonio Brown was forced to do, or what Odell Beckham Jr. was forced to do in the first few games of last season before they realized what Shepard was like, or before Le'Veon Bell came back, and if you look at those numbers, they didn't have necessarily fantastic games being the only reliable target on the field. Having Eifert being a receiving tight end opens him up a lot. That's my argument. I'd also like to go ahead and throw that Jarvis Landry was not talked about at all. Good receiver. Very good receiver. We're talking about a guy who puts up above average numbers with a very pedestrian quarterback.
Well, the thing with that is, I believe Jarvis Landry just only gets catches and no yards. He'll have 15 catches for 60 yards. And I just feel like in this league, that's not enough. and you have to do more.
I disagree because I disagree because Brandon Marshall was like that for years. Brandon Marshall was the possession receiver that would bully his way into the air.
But as a
bully
number
his way
one, you
over
don't want
people.
your number one being a possessive receiver.
I disagree. I
I
think it
had-
completely goes with the team. Brandon Marshall was the number one for a long time in different teams.
He
and
also
was a
had no
position
deep
receiver.
at Dolphins. Just
Not to interrupt this good discussion. I had both those guys just outside the top. Like Landry was someone I tried to put in. You know, personally, I think Edelman has performed better because he has more success, I guess. But they are two, again, top tier receivers. It's just there's so many good receivers now. It's hard to really iron it out and make a top 10 list.
But we're running out of time, so we'll wrap this up quick. I give Kyle a point for making a good tight end list on a harder position. Not that your guys' wasn't hard, but there's just more relevant names.
That's fair.
I give Kendall a point for his aggressiveness. Didn't speak that often, but when he did, it was very aggressive.
It's really mean.
I wasn't going to double up with Kyle.
And I hate to do this to Kendall, but I give Mock the winning point
Oh, shucks.
for being the talker. Mock really opened up a lot about everybody. So with that being said, Mock takes the cake here. He's got... Oh, I lied. We have a tie. Oh, no. Okay, I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 10. Go.
6.
10.
All right, Mock wins. It was 4. So Mock is the winner. So Mock wins with 11 plus points. Kendall loses in overtime. And Kyle finishes the bottom of the barrel. So that means, Mock, you get to assign a disgusting shot to one of the three of us of your choosing.
It's one of the 3?
One of the three of us.
Oh,
You get
okay.
to decide the shot. You can just you can decide off air. Good debate. I liked it.
I liked this a lot. I'm excited to.
This is the
to
start
do
of a new
this.
segment.
Yeah.
We're doing it for all sorts of sports: baseball, basketball, hockey, whatever.
Oh man, I'm gonna be bad at the basketball
Well,
one.
you could be the mediator for that one.
Yeah, may have to.
But until then, this is Getting Sports with Drunk. I was your hostess, Cupcake, the Riddler. I'm joined by the Hooligans,
Mock.
Kendall?
Solves it.
and we'll see you next time.